Let me ask you something. What does it actually take to be called the greatest? Not the biggest, not the strongest, not even the most decorated, but the greatest. Because in professional wrestling, a world full of giants, legends, and once-in-a-generation athletes, one man kept showing up, kept outworking everyone in the locker room, and kept stealing the show when nobody thought he could do it again. And here's the crazy part. He did it for 30 years. He did it with a bad back. He did it after addiction nearly destroyed him. He did it after retirement. He did it at 45 years old at WrestleMania against The Undertaker in front of 70,000 screaming fans. And his name is Shawn Michaels. And today we're going to break down exactly how a kid from San Antonio, Texas, who was too cocky, too reckless, and too self-destructive for his own good, somehow became the single greatest American professional wrestler who ever lived. Born on July 22, 1965 in Chandler, Arizona, and raised in San Antonio, Texas, Michael Shawn Hickenbottom grew up a normal kid with one obsession: professional wrestling. And he wasn't the biggest kid. He wasn't built like a future world champion, but from a young age he had something that can't be taught, which was natural charisma and an almost psychotic drive to be the best. And at just 19 years old, Shawn debuted in the NWA. And by 1987, he had joined the WWF alongside his tag partner, Marty Jannetty, as one half of the Rockers, who were beloved, high-flying, fast-paced, and exciting to watch. But they were a tag team, and Shawn Michaels wasn't built for the background. So in 1992, everything changed when Shawn, in one of the most iconic moments of the era, super-kicked Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window, cold, calculated, and ruthless. And just like that, the Heartbreak Kid was born. And from that moment forward, Shawn Michaels was never again playing second fiddle to anyone. What made Shawn different from every other guy on the roster in the early 90s was simple. He performed like his career depended on it every single night, and while others phoned it in on house shows, Shawn was in the ring making believers out of casual fans. He had the look, the long hair, the flashy tights, the smile, but more importantly, he had the ability to back it all up. And in 1994, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon changed professional wrestling forever with their ladder match at WrestleMania 10, which is still referenced in every single conversation about the greatest matches in WWE history. 2 men, 1 ladder, the Intercontinental Championship hanging above the ring, no rules, no mercy, and people had never seen anything like it. Because that match didn't just make Shawn Michaels a star, it set a template for an entire era of wrestling that would follow. And every ladder match you've ever watched, you have Shawn Michaels to thank for that. And by 1995 and into 1996, HBK had fully arrived at the main event scene. He was Intercontinental Champion, he was headlining pay-per-views, and the crowd, whether they loved him or hated him, could not look away from him. In 1996, Shawn Michaels won his first WWF Championship at WrestleMania 12 in an Iron Man match against Bret Hart that went 60 full minutes with no pinfalls before Shawn won in overtime. 60 minutes, no score, and the crowd was still absolutely riveted. Because that's the thing about Shawn Michaels. He could make you feel every single second of a match. The emotion, the struggle, the storytelling, and nobody in American wrestling has ever told a story inside that ring quite like HBK did. But then came the dark years, because the late 90s were brutal for Shawn, with backstage politics, personal demons, prescription pill addiction, and a back injury at the 1998 Royal Rumble, a casket match with The Undertaker that shattered 2 discs in his spine and was supposed to end his career permanently. And he disappeared for 4 years, and most people thought that was it, that the curtain had closed on the Heartbreak Kid, but they were wrong. In 2002, a clean, sober, and reborn Shawn Michaels walked back into a WWE ring. And what happened next is almost impossible to explain unless you lived through it, because Shawn Michaels, with a surgically repaired back and years away from competition, came back and had arguably the best run of his entire career. And think about this list of matches from his comeback alone. Triple H in an unsanctioned street fight at SummerSlam 2002, which was blood, tears, and a war between 2 former best friends and one of the most emotionally charged matches in history. Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 19, a technical masterpiece with a story arc built over months. Triple H in Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood 2004. Nearly 50 minutes of absolute brutality inside the most unforgiving structure in wrestling. Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. 2 of the best pure wrestlers on the planet putting on a clinic. Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 22, a comedic but legitimately brilliant performance that showed his range. and John Cena at WrestleMania 23, with 54,000 fans packed into Ford Field and a 5-star performance for the ages. And then, The Undertaker. If there's a single chapter that locks in Shawn Michaels as the greatest American wrestler of all time, it's the 2 matches he had with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 and 26, because WrestleMania 25 in Houston, Texas is widely considered the greatest WrestleMania match ever contested, and many serious wrestling historians call it the greatest match in the history of professional wrestling. 2 men at the absolute peak of their physical and storytelling ability, putting everything on the line for 30 minutes of perfection. And then they did it again the following year with Shawn's career on the line. And he lost, and the retirement when it came felt earned. It felt like the closing chapter of something sacred, because Shawn didn't just have great matches, he had moments that became permanently embedded in the cultural memory of an entire generation of fans. So why Shawn Michaels? Why not Hulk Hogan? Why not Steve Austin? Why not John Cena? And the answer is simple. Because nobody else did what he did for as long as he did it at the level he did it, while completely reinventing himself twice. Because Shawn Michaels was the greatest in-ring performer America ever produced. Not just because of the moves, not just because of the matches, but because of the heart. Because he was flawed, deeply flawed, and he overcame every single one of those flaws, publicly, and gave the sport the best years of his life not once but twice. And that's why when you walk into any wrestling school on the planet and ask who you should study, the answer is almost always the same. The Heartbreak Kid, the Showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments whether you think Shawn is the greatest American wrestler ever, or if there's someone else who deserves the crown. Because I'll see you in the next one. Sweet chin music, and we're out.